We, being the journalists here, support democracy. We tell people stories. We bring issues to the forefront of decision makers. We keep our elected officials accountable.
Journalism matters in all its forms because unless you're informed, you can't make decisions. You can't make the right decisions because you won't have all the information. Journalism is the bridge between what happens and what people do with that information.
The thing about legacy and traditional journalism, which people have taken for granted, is that it still performs a really important function. We learn this more and more with social media, where we have information overload. People think they can just find out for themselves and educate themselves on the issues.
So our job, I think, is to really use the time and resources that we have to gather that information and then distill it into something that makes sense.
I think probably one of the most important functions of journalism is holding truth to power. So holding governments and people in positions of power to account, because we can't just trust the information that we're given, by the government or by figures of authority.
And I see our job here as trying to understand why politicians are making the choices they're making, getting them to justify them, trying to explain through facts and analysis why certain things are being done, to try to expose problems that they may not be aware of, to try and fix those problems.
It's crucial for citizens of all ages to be informed because everything that happens in the world can affect you. Either it's a local issue or even something far away can affect our economic and social systems. And if you don't have the information, you can't understand what that is and how it affects you personally and what choices you can make.
Looking up who makes those decisions and finding out how to change something if something does need changing requires an informed citizenry. It requires a press that asks hard questions, and it requires a government that answers them.
There are real threats to democracy. There's a real danger that it's easy to be misinformed. It's harder to get facts than it used to be. It can lead to mistrust. It can lead to a decline of institutions. It can lead to a growing cynicism.
We're all in this together. And part of being a good citizen and contributing to that national conversation and that national decision-making is filling your brain with stuff and not just doing stuff on the basis of what you heard yesterday from some guy down the street.
Young people today are more educated than any young people in previous decades. And we know that education usually is tied to how people will approach elections and will turn out at elections. So if young people today are more educated than ever before, one of the things they have to do is educate themselves about the news, about politics, about government, and about what's going on behind the scenes.
Being informed about the world keeps you informed about your life.